Entering the year, expectations were very high for the Chicago Bulls, coming off their first playoff berth in a long time. But this year, things have not turned out the way that we all expected, and they currently sit outside of the play-in tournament. And with about 23 games left, the question is, should they make a push for the play-in, and would it be worth it? Will they find a way into the playoffs? Or is it time for them to, just start preparing some of the young guys and potentially hope to get back their top 4 pick that was protected in the trade for Vucevic a few years back? So that's what I want to cover exactly in today's video. So if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. But let's not waste any more of your guys' time. Let's go and get right into things. The Bulls, who are currently on a 6-game losing streak, which just pains me, including a 24-point blown game against the Pacers, dealing with, of course, having DeMar DeRozan out due to injury, and all this stuff. The Bulls have not been looking good at all lately, so let's kind of quickly run through all this stuff really quickly and just talk about what they should be doing the rest of the year. And before we get into that, I gotta plug in my computer so it doesn't die as we're filming, and we're good. So sorry about that real quick. As mentioned, the Bulls currently sit slightly outside of the play-in tournament. I believe they're currently at the 11th seed during this All-Star break that is occurring right now. And with the current seeding, how they sit right now, they do have a 32% chance to land in that top 4 spot, which would make them retain their pick. 32, not too terrible, 1/3 chance. Honestly, pretty good, especially for what I thought it would be. And even with that, they also have a 7% chance to win the lottery and get the number 1 pick. Likely, I think, guaranteed to be Victor Wembanyama. That, almost as high expectations to win LeBron into the league, it seems like. So they have a 7% chance to do that and a 32% chance to get that spot back. And, with 2 losses and the Pacers and the Magic winning, the Bulls could potentially drop down to the 5th worst record in the league, which then would give them a 42% chance to land a top 4 pick and a 10.5% chance to land number 1. Now, all that takes would be 2 games going that direction. Now, whether you want to tank, I hate the word tank, I hate tanking in general, but whether you want the top 4 pick or you want playoffs, that's up to you. Honestly, I would rather, one or the other. I don't care which way it goes, even if you lose in the first round of playoffs, or a top 4 pick, or at least put yourself in the spot to get it, then be in the middle here where you make the play-in and you lose, something like that. That's no fun. I just want to watch fun basketball, however that may come. I don't like tanking. Maybe a little bit, controversial for some of us, some of the Wolves fan that does want that top 4 pick, especially with how great this top 4 pick, top 4 options are. Scoot Henderson, Victor Wembanyama, the Twins, and many other options. But, like I said, 2 losses and 2 wins from the right teams, you could drop to the 5th. That's pretty good. But with DeMar likely returning from after this All-Star break from his injury, the Bulls probably going to improve from a 6-game losing streak, get a little bit better there. And as we all know, this draft has plenty of good options, and you could definitely play your way out of that lottery potential because of a guy like DeMar returning and this team wanting to make the play-in tournament. I know Billy does. I know everyone on this team wants to make the play-in. They don't want a lottery pick. They don't want a young guy on the team. But you got to look at it. There could be good things that comes from this lottery pick if you were to get it, because you could bring in a guy that will make an immediate impact on this team and potentially make the future of this team a lot better long term than right now just having another year in the playoffs before it probably collapses next year if Vooch is moved on or something like that. So it almost could be better long term for the Bulls to get this lottery pick. So let's break down some numbers, and there's a whole lot of numbers to cover, and don't worry, I did it all for you. Let's just make this super easy for you to understand. So as mentioned, there are 23 games remaining this year. Let's go through how the Bulls did against playoff teams, play-in teams, and all other teams, lottery teams, break down percentages, win-loss records, all that, and then we're going to take those numbers, compare it to the teams that you're going to be going against, and actually going to flip it. So we're going to cover the teams you're going against through the remaining 23 games, and then find the percentage and multiply by that, so we know what the projected wins are for the rest of the year. I know it's a little confusing, but it's going to make sense real quick. So first, let's start with these 23 games. Who are we going against? 10 of the remaining games are against playoff teams. Playoff teams means current top 6 seeds. 10 of the remaining games are against teams like that. And although the Nets currently sit at 5th, they're likely to fall down. I did include them in this because they're in the top 6. But if you want, maybe you say 9, and then you move the Nets down to the teams in the play-in. However you want to do that. But currently, 10 teams of the remaining games are against playoff teams, including, in order, Suns, Nuggets, Kings, 76ers twice, Clippers, Grizzlies, Bucks, and Mavericks. Some tough games in there. Plenty of really, really good teams. And I'll pull the standings up behind me so you can kind of see how everything mapped out. Now, this is the, not Eastern Conference, Western Conference, but the entire league. So, of course, top 6 teams from East Conference, 10 games. Those are the teams that the Bulls will be playing through the remaining 23 games. Now, 5 more of the remaining games are against play-in teams. So, of course, the 4 from each league, 8 total teams. 5 games are against those teams, with the Wizards, Raptors, Timberwolves, Heats, and Atlanta Hawks. Again, those games could be tough ones. A lot of those teams, although they're going to play in, are good teams. And lastly, the remaining 8 teams that are lottery teams include the Pistons twice, Pacers, Rockets, Blazers, Lakers twice, and the Hornets. Now, the remaining teams, all the records combined, is 671 and 681 win-loss record, which is going to put you at a 49.6 win percentage through all remaining teams that the Bulls are going to go against. Now, the Bulls are also 20th ranked hardest remaining schedule, so they have a below average difficulty of schedule through the remainder of the year, which, kind of puts you in a spot where maybe the Bulls win more than you want, and it could outplay the lottery projections, but those numbers aren't enough. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit more. The Bulls' record this year against each bracketer team, like I said, we're going to go through playoff team, play-in team, and lottery teams. How do they do up till this point, what percentage that is, and then multiply it. Again, you'll understand. The Bulls are 8-16 versus playoff teams. They are 8-8 versus play-in teams, and they're 10-9 against lottery teams. Those are how they've done so far to this point this year. Now, let's take these percentages, and we're going to multiply them by the percentage of games remaining through the 23 in that bracket. Playoff teams, as mentioned, 10 of the last 23 games are against playoff teams. If you are 8-16 against said playoff teams, that's going to give you a 33% win rate. Now you multiply those two together, and that's going to give the Bulls 3.33 wins through the last 10 games if they match this percentages. 3.33 against these top 10 teams. Now play-in, again, 5 of the remaining games are against play-in teams. You are 8-8 against your play-in teams, which means you're 500. You take those 2 times each other, you're going to give you 2.5 more wins. Lastly, the lottery teams, of course, you got 8 lottery teams you're going to go against through these final games here. You're 10-9 against these lottery teams. Gives you a 52.6 win percentage, and that gives you 4.2 more wins. Now, we're going to add all these together, 3.33, 2.5, and, 4.2. In total, this adds up to 10.03 wins, leaving 12.97 losses. Now, we're just going to round those up, so 10 and 13 through the last 23 games. A little bit below 500, not a great record. Certainly, I think us Bulls fans would either see that number go down or go up and push for the play-in. But nonetheless, 10 and 13 through the remaining games, and that would put you at 36 and 46 by the end of the year. 36 and 46, or a 4.39 win percentage, which is slightly down. The Bulls currently sit at a 4.41, so you're 2% down, right? Or something like that. something like that. So, a whole lot of math. Hopefully that made sense to you. So, as mentioned, that would put you at 36 and 46, and at a 4.39. It wouldn't really move you a whole bunch. You'd actually still currently be sitting at the same record, at least standing wise. Everyone else won the exact percentage they are right now. Of course, that's not going to happen, but that would still leave you at the 7th spot in the entire league, still at 32% odds, all that stuff. But if the Bulls are to lose only 2 extra games than the expected amount of 10 wins, and if you add in the fact that if those losses are against the right teams, such as you lose against teams that are worse than the Bulls, those 2 losses would drop them to a 41% win, which would put them at 6th in lottery odds. So slightly better just from losing 2 extra games. And that's if it's to like better teams. Those 2 extra games are to better teams. It would even get even better if you lost those games to teams that have a worse record than you. Now, another stat that you can compare this to is your last 10 games. And the Bulls are 3-10 through the last 10 games, putting them at 30%. If you took 23 games and took it times 30%, that's going to end up putting you at a record of 33 and 49, which is 40% win and would be 5th. So if the Bulls are to go 30% through the rest of the year and everything else remains the same, they would then be 5th in lottery odds, which would again put them to 42%. So the Bulls do have a real shot at ending up with their lottery or their pick back if it lands in the top 4 of the lottery. They do have a real shot of that occurring. Now, there's pretty much no chance that they end up at the 4th worst record and have a really good percentage of landing top 4. It's almost impossible. You would need the teams below you, such as like the Hornets, to pretty much win out and the Bulls to lose out for it to get close enough for that to happen. But that's not going to happen. So the Bulls have a real shot to get their pick, their top 4 pick. But they also have a real shot to outplay their lottery odds, force it to like 20%, making the play-in. So they could really go either way, and a lot weighs in the balance for the future of this Bulls organization in these last 23 games. Whether it's going to be, win now mode, or if you're looking at the future, because a top 4 pick this year could really make this team a playoff contender, maybe not championship contender, but playoff contender for a good portion of time coming up here with guys like Zach LaVine, Ayo Dosunmu, Lonzo Ball once he returns, and whomever you'd be able to draft. This team could look really, really good for a long time. But there's a lot weighing in the balance. What would you guys prefer? What would you rather see them making the plan? Like, let's look at this. We have 3 options here. Would you rather them get the lottery pick, top 4? Would you rather them make the play-in but lose the play-in tournament, or make the playoffs even if they get swept? Just assume that. Now, of course, the Bulls could do better. They can make the playoffs and win the first round, so on and so forth, win multiple rounds. But if those are your 3 options, you make the playoffs, looks good, but you still lose. You make the play-in, but you lose, or you get your lottery. What would be more fun for you? What would be more enjoyable? And what would you prefer? I honestly don't know. I think I want to see this team in the playoffs. I want to see them fighting for a championship more than a draft pick, if I'm being honest. But that is my own personal opinion. What do you guys think? If you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. And as always, I hope to have some today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it laugh. Some really important to me. Affects people's day in a great way. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.